Chapter 1. Understanding Differentiated Instruction. At Real Point English Stories, our focus is on making English learning an exciting and engaging journey for everyone. Today, we dive into the concept of differentiated instruction, a teaching approach that recognizes that every student is unique with different learning styles, abilities, and interests. In this story, we'll see how a creative teacher, Miss Smith, brings this concept to life in her English classroom. Miss Smith had always believed that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to learning. She knew that her students were unique individuals, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, and ways of understanding the world. To cater to their diverse needs, she decided to use differentiated instruction in her English class. One bright Monday morning, Mrs. Smith stood before her class of 30 students, each eagerly waiting to learn something new. She smiled and said, "Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to do things a little differently." She could see the curious expressions on their faces and continued, "We all learn in different ways. Some of us learn best by seeing, others by hearing, and some by doing. So today, we're going to explore these different ways of learning together." Setting up the learning stations. Ms. Smith had prepared 3 learning stations around the classroom, each designed to cater to a different type of learner: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. She explained to the students that they would rotate through each station in small groups, giving them the chance to explore different ways of learning English. The first station was the Visual Learning Station. It was set up with colorful posters, charts, and diagrams. There were flashcards with new vocabulary words and matching images, and a large map that showed different English-speaking countries. Students who like to learn by seeing things could use these visual aids to build their vocabulary and understanding of the English language. The second station was the Auditory Learning Station. Here, Ms. Smith had set up a few tables with headphones and tablets. Students could listen to English audio clips, such as short stories, podcasts, and dialogues. This station was perfect for those who learned best by listening. They could hear the correct pronunciation of words, understand the rhythm and flow of the language, and get used to different accents. The third station was the less kinesthetic learning station. This was designed for those who like to learn by doing. There were props and materials for role-playing activities, allowing students to act out everyday scenarios like ordering food in a restaurant or asking for directions. This station encouraged students to use their bodies and movements to learn English, making it a more interactive and engaging experience. Grouping the students strategically. Ms. Smith knew that it was important to group the students strategically to ensure that everyone was both challenged and supported. She carefully observed her students over the weeks and made notes on their learning styles and preferences. Based on these observations, she grouped them in a way that would allow each group to benefit from a mix of learning styles. As she announced the groups, she said, "I've grouped you based on what I've noticed about how you learn best. But remember, this is also a chance to step out of your comfort zone and try new things." The students nodded, excited and ready to start. In Group 1, there was Emily, who loved art and learned best through visuals; Daniel, who was good at listening and speaking; and Leah, who enjoyed hands-on activities. Group 2 had Alex, who had a passion for music and auditory learning; Sophie, who thrived on reading and writing, and Mike, who preferred interactive and physical activities. Each group began at a different station. Group 1 started at the visual learning station, where they engaged with the colorful posters and maps. Emily was thrilled to see a large poster of the UK with images of famous landmarks and symbols. She pointed to Big Ben and said, "This is so helpful. I can see the word and the picture together, which helps me remember better." Leah, who usually preferred more physical activities, found herself surprisingly engaged with the visual aids. She said, "I thought I'd be bored, but these flashcards are fun. We can even turn this into a matching game." Meanwhile, at the auditory learning station, Group 2 was fully immersed in their audio clips. Alex was listening to a podcast about the history of English words. He said, "I like this. Listening to the way words are pronounced and used in different contexts really helps me understand better." Sophie, who was more inclined towards reading, found the auditory exercises challenging but rewarding. She noted, "I usually focus on reading and writing, but listening is pushing me to think differently about the language. I have to concentrate more, which is good practice." At the kinesthetic learning station, students in both groups were laughing and having fun as they acted out different scenarios. Daniel was playing the role of a customer in a restaurant, while Mike was the waiter. "I'll have a cheeseburger, please," Daniel said in his best British accent. "Coming right up," Mike responded, holding an imaginary notepad and scribbling down the order. The whole class laughed, and Ms. Smith smiled. She knew that learning should be fun and engaging, and it was clear that her students were not only learning but also enjoying themselves. Reflecting on the experience. After each group had visited all 3 stations, Ms. Smith gathered the students together for a reflection session. She asked, "So, what did you learn today about how you learn best?" Emily raised her hand and said, "I realized that I really enjoy learning with visuals. The images help me remember the words better, and it makes learning feel like less of a chore." Alex chimed in, "I found that listening to podcasts and stories helps me catch the nuances of pronunciation. It's like I'm training my ears to understand different accents." Leah added, "I usually prefer hands-on activities, but I enjoyed the visual station today. I think mixing up the learning styles helps keep things interesting." Ms. Smith nodded with a smile. "That's exactly the point. Sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone helps us discover new strengths and interests. And by combining different ways of learning, we can make our English practice more effective and enjoyable." Setting clear objectives. To wrap up the lesson, Ms. Smith emphasized the importance of setting clear objectives. She explained, each station had a specific goal, whether it was to learn new vocabulary, practice pronunciation, or engage in conversation. Having a clear objective helped you focus your learning. This is something you can apply not only in class, but also in your independent study. She encouraged the students to think about their own learning goals and how they could use different methods to achieve them. Learning English isn't just about memorizing words and rules, she said. It's about finding what works for you and making it a part of your daily life. The students left the classroom that day feeling inspired and motivated. They had learned not only new English skills, but also more about themselves as learners. They knew that with the right approach, they could overcome any challenge and continue to grow in their English journey. Chapter 2. The Power of Group Learning, continued. Ms. Smith nodded. That's the beauty of working in diverse groups. You learn not only from your own experiences, but also from each other's. And remember, the more you practice English in different ways, the more confident you'll become. The class buzzed with enthusiasm as the students discussed their experiences. They had not only improved their English skills, but also learned the importance of teamwork, creativity, and communication. Mrs. Smith was proud of how far they had come and looked forward to seeing them continue to grow. Tailoring feedback to support growth. As the students returned to their seats, Ms. Smith handed out feedback forms tailored to each group's learning style and contribution. She knew that providing specific feedback was crucial for helping students recognize their strengths and areas for improvement. For Sarah, who thrived on visual learning, Ms. Smith wrote, "Your map was beautifully detailed and helped bring the project to life. Consider exploring more visual storytelling techniques to further enhance your presentations." For Daniel, who enjoyed auditory learning, she wrote, "Your audio script was clear and informative, adding depth to the presentation. Continue to practice your speaking skills by creating more audio recordings or podcasts." For Leah, who excelled in kinesthetic activities, Mrs. Smith noted, "Your role play added a dynamic element to the presentation, making it engaging for the audience. Keep exploring hands-on ways to learn and share your knowledge." Each student received personalized feedback that not only highlighted their contributions, but also encouraged them to continue exploring their preferred learning styles. Building confidence through success. The positive reinforcement gave the students a boost of confidence. They felt valued and understood, knowing that their teacher recognized their individual strengths. This sense of accomplishment motivated them to keep pushing their boundaries and exploring new ways to learn English. Ms. Smith concluded the session with a reminder. Remember, learning is a journey. There's no right or wrong way to do it. What matters is finding what works best for you and embracing the process. You all did an incredible job today, and I can't wait to see what you'll achieve next. As the students left the classroom, they felt a sense of pride and excitement. They knew that with the support of their teacher and the collaborative spirit of their classmates, they were on the right path to mastering English. Chapter 3: Embracing Technology in Learning. As the semester progressed, Ms. Smith introduced her students to the power of technology in language learning. She understood that in a world increasingly driven by digital advancements, integrating technology into the classroom was essential for keeping students engaged and preparing them for the future. One day, she entered the classroom with a cart full of tablets and laptops. The students' eyes lit up with curiosity and excitement. "Today we're going to explore how technology can help us learn English," Ms. Smith announced. "There are so many amazing tools and resources available that can make learning both fun and effective." Exploring language apps. Ms. Smith began by introducing the class to a variety of language learning apps. She showed them how to use apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise, which offered interactive lessons, games, and quizzes. Each app was designed to cater to different learning styles, whether it was through visual prompts, auditory exercises, or interactive activities. "These apps are great because they allow you to learn at your own pace," Ms. Smith explained. "You can choose the topics that interest you, practice vocabulary, and even work on your pronunciation. Plus, they're a lot of fun." The students eagerly downloaded the apps on their devices and started exploring. Emily, who loved visuals, was drawn to Duolingo's colorful interface and engaging images. Alex, who preferred listening, found Memrise's audio clips and pronunciation exercises particularly helpful. Leah enjoyed Babbel's conversational practice, which allowed her to simulate real-life dialogues. As they worked, Mrs. Smith circulated the room, offering tips and answering questions. Remember, these apps are tools to help you practice. Don't be afraid to experiment and see which one works best for you, she encouraged. Creating digital content. Next, Ms. Smith introduced the concept of creating digital content to enhance learning. She showed the class how to make their own short videos, podcasts, and blogs in English. This not only allowed them to practice their language skills, but also gave them a platform to express their creativity. For your next project, I want you to create something using English, Ms. Smith said. It could be a vlog about your day, a podcast discussing your favorite topic, or even a blog post sharing your thoughts on a recent movie. The goal is to use English in a way that feels natural and fun for you. The students were excited about the opportunity to create their own content. Emily decided to make a vlog where she gave a tour of her art studio and explained her painting process in English. Alex started working on a music podcast where he discussed the lyrics and meanings behind his favorite songs. Leah began writing a blog where she shared her experiences learning English and offered tips to other students. Incorporating social media. To further engage the students, Mr. Smith introduced them to the idea of using social media as a learning tool. She explained how platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter could be used to follow English language influencers, join language learning communities, and even share their own content with a wider audience. Social media is a great way to connect with other learners and get real-world practice, Mrs. Smith said. You can follow people who post in English, comment on their posts, and even share your own videos or blogs. It's a fun way to practice and get feedback from others. Emily started an Instagram account where she posted pictures of her paintings, along with short descriptions in English. Alex uploaded his music podcast episodes to YouTube, where he received comments from fellow music lovers. Leah shared her blog posts on Twitter, connecting with other language learners and exchanging tips. Reflecting on digital learning. At the end of the week, Ms. Smith held a reflection session to discuss the students' experiences with technology. What did you think about using apps, creating content, and exploring social media to learn English? She asked. I loved using Duolingo, Emily said. The pictures and games made learning new words so much fun. The podcast was my favorite part, Alex added. It helped me practice my speaking, and I even got some feedback from listeners on YouTube. Leah nodded in agreement. Sharing my blog on Twitter connected me with other learners, and we exchanged so many helpful tips. It made me feel like I was part of a bigger community. Ms. Smith was thrilled to hear the positive feedback. I'm so proud of all of you for embracing these new tools and making them your own. Remember, technology is here to help you learn, but the most important thing is your willingness to explore and try new things. The students left the classroom feeling empowered. They had not only learned new ways to practice English, but had also discovered how technology could open doors to new opportunities and connections. Chapter 4: Overcoming Challenges Together. As the semester continued, Ms. Smith decided to address a topic that was often overlooked but incredibly important: overcoming challenges in learning. She knew that each student faced different obstacles, whether it was struggling with certain language concepts, dealing with a lack of confidence, or simply finding the motivation to keep going. Learning a new language can be tough, Ms. Smith began one day. But remember, you're not alone. We all face challenges, and that's okay. What's important is how we handle those challenges and support each other along the way. Identifying personal challenges. Mrs. Smith asked the students to take a moment to think about the challenges they faced in learning English. She handed out reflective worksheets with prompts like, "What part of learning English do you find most difficult? And how do you feel when you encounter something challenging in English?" The students took their time, thoughtfully filling out the worksheets. Emily wrote that she often struggled with remembering new vocabulary and felt frustrated when she couldn't express her thoughts clearly. Alex noted that he sometimes found it hard to keep up with fast-paced conversations, especially when people used slang or idiomatic expressions. Leah mentioned that she occasionally felt nervous speaking in front of others, worried that she might make mistakes. Sharing and supporting each other. Once everyone had completed the worksheets, Mrs. Smith encouraged the students to share their challenges with the class. "Let's talk about what we find difficult," she said. "By sharing, we can help each other find solutions and learn that we're not alone in our struggles." Emily was the first to speak. "I find it hard to remember new words," she admitted. "I try to learn them, but sometimes I forget, and it makes me feel like I'm not improving." Alex nodded. "I know what you mean. I have trouble understanding fast conversations. It's like the words blend together and I can't keep up." Leah added, "I get really nervous when I have to speak in front of others. I'm afraid of making mistakes and embarrassing myself." Ms. Smith listened carefully, then offered some advice. "First of all, I want you to know that it's completely normal to feel this way. Everyone faces challenges when learning something new. What's important is finding strategies to overcome them." She suggested that Emily use flashcards and apps to practice vocabulary in short daily sessions. For Alex, she recommended watching English language shows with subtitles and gradually increasing the speed as his listening improved. For Leah, she advised practicing in a supportive environment, starting with small groups and gradually building confidence. Collaborative problem solving. Ms. Smith then grouped the students according to the challenges they faced, encouraging them to brainstorm solutions together. Emily, Alex, and Leah ended up in the same group and began discussing their struggles in more depth. "I've tried using flashcards," Emily said, "but I think I need to do it more often and in a way that's more fun." Alex suggested, "How about we turn it into a game? We can test each other with the flashcards and add points for each correct answer." Leah nodded. "And for speaking practice, we could start a small club where we take turns speaking on different topics. We can give each other feedback in a positive way so that it doesn't feel so scary." They agreed to meet after school to put their ideas into action. Over the next few weeks, they met regularly, turning vocabulary practice into a fun, competitive game and supporting each other through speaking exercises. Celebrating progress. As the weeks went by, Ms. Smith noticed a significant improvement in her students. Emily was retaining more vocabulary, Alex was following conversations more easily, and Leah was speaking with newfound confidence. She decided to celebrate their progress with a success day where students could share their achievements and reflect on how far they had come. "Today, we're not focusing on what we still need to learn," Mrs. Smith announced. "Instead, We're celebrating how much you've already achieved. Each student took a moment to share their successes. Emily proudly demonstrated her vocabulary retention by explaining a new concept she had learned. Alex shared a clip of a fast-paced podcast he had been able to follow without subtitles. Leah gave a short speech about her experience overcoming her fear of speaking, and the class cheered her on. Mrs. Smith concluded the session with words of encouragement. "I am so proud of each and every one of you," she said. "Learning a language is a journey, and you've shown that with perseverance, creativity, and support from one another, anything is possible." A sense of accomplishment. The students left the classroom with a sense of accomplishment and pride. They had learned not just English, but also valuable life skills like resilience, problem solving, and teamwork. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they had the tools and the support to face them head on. And so, the journey of learning English continued, filled with discovery, growth, and the unwavering spirit of determination. The students knew they were not just learning a language, they were learning to embrace new opportunities, face challenges with courage, and build a brighter future for themselves. Stay tuned for more stories and lessons on Real Point English Stories, where learning English is always an exciting adventure.